an extraordinary experience that is somewhat sensual, actually, but it's very cold and it's very heavy.
What are you? We are Venom!
Tom, you have story credits on the second and third Venom films, and Kelly, you've worked on the scripts of all three. What's most important to keep in mind when writing for the character of Venom?
I don't know, Kelly, what is? What would you say as somebody who helps? Somebody who helps me.
The great thing about writing Venom is that he can say anything and do anything, so you can kind of unleash your inner beast, as it were.
And it has to be good material, doesn't it?
It does have to,
it has to be the best
material.
Otherwise it just isn't. You know, and sometimes we can tell, you know, like, as long as it's moving in a certain predictable, chaotic unpredictability through the linear nature of a story, then you're in the wheelhouse. But ultimately we can only really
do what we like.
Yeah, and stand by our own mistakes, as it were.
Tom Hardy, he produces the Venom films. He works on the scripts with Kelly Marcel. He seems to know this character the best of anyone. How do you see him communicate that passion when you're behind the scenes?
I mean, I would go as far as to say I don't know who else could be Venom and Eddie. He has lived with them and cares about them both so deeply, and they are so intertwined as the combo within him that they feel like an emotional presence, they feel like a comical presence, they feel like an extension of his personalities, of being a kind of, you know, a darker voice and a lighter voice within the one human. And I think there's something that just have been really, really precious to him as a person through his career. And also alongside with his friendship with Kelly. I think they have a real meaning to both of them that also means that their friendship is kind of being put on the screen, which is gonna be there forever, which is pretty magical.
It's interesting to hear you say that it's their friendship that drives it. Do you think one of them is more the Venom and one is more the Eddie between the two?
I'm not sure.
That's a good question. I feel like they probably both have both.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? That they kind of split duties on that.
Yeah.
You know, but I think that the one thing about Venom and Eddie is that they support and push each other.
Yes.
You know. And I guess
compliment
that's,
in a weird way.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think that that's probably what they do as well, you know, in a much less kind of violent way.
Yes.
But they sort of support and push each other.
We are Venom.
Have you thought about what it feels like to actually be surrounded in the symbiote's goo? Like, is it warm? Is it wet? Is it sticky? Is it like peanut butter, molasses?
Well, I'd never even thought about it, you know. I've never actually thought about it. I'm too busy working, mate. trying to keep the gun in the fight, though. I never imagined what it might be to actually be in. Isn't that funny?
Nobody is perfect.
A long
warm hug, like a gooey, warm, sticky hug, like what you did to my hand with that stuff yesterday.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know. I don't know. I think he just appears and then you disappear.
You did say you felt like it might be like being in the womb.
Yeah, that was initial when we were in the first movie. Do you remember saying, where does he go? I think he's like in an amniotic sac, asleep, like a baby in Venom. So Venom can creep out and go and eat people's dogs during the night. Do you remember? Because we had Venom going out at nighttime.
Taking Eddie without Eddie knowing, because Eddie was asleep.
Yeah, and eating people. And then Eddie waking up, reading newspapers, going, look what happened.
Yes.
I know nothing.
Do you understand what I'm talking about?
I would imagine the first time it happens, a sense of claustrophobia would be a little hint of that. I feel like it would be cold and slightly weighted. I don't know if you've ever held a live snake. It's quite an extraordinary experience that is somewhat sensual, actually, but it's very cold and it's very heavy. You feel there's a real power to it. And they are in control of the speed in which they are going to wrap around your arm, and it feels like I imagine a symbiote would have that same kind of, they control the pace.
It's so interesting. I've never thought about it like that you're enwrapped in something else. You know, I've always thought that you also become sort of morphed as well. You know, like it's more of a conjoining of energies as opposed to one enveloping the other. But that was just me. I've never thought of it.
But that's your experience with it then. That's how
it always
you would be
struck.
symbioted.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.